Counseling Individuals with Disabilities by Heather Dunn. The importance of individuals with disabilities in multicultural counseling. More than 27% of adults in the United States have a disability, and this equates to more than 1 in 4 adults. According to the CDC, more than 27% of adults, 13.9, have a cognition disability with serious difficulty concentrating, remembering, or making decisions. 12.2% have a mobility disability and have serious difficulty walking or climbing stairs. 6.2% of adults are deaf or have serious difficulty hearing, and just a little over 3% have a self-care disability with difficulty dressing and bathing. Cultural competence of individuals with disabilities is as important as cultural and ethical competence. Having a disability is an experience that is shared by many individuals across a segment of population. While counselors study and prepare for multicultural counseling in areas such as race and culture, it is highly unlikely that counselors are trained by working with people with disabilities. Competence is important to have because it exposes that this group of individuals experiences inadequate access to care and lower quality of care, and also poor health status outcomes. Appropriate language and representation of individuals with disabilities conversations are starting, especially when it comes to language and how disabled people are represented in the media. Terms related to disability are potentially confusing and often misused. Just as much as it is important to have cultural and ethical terms correct, it is important to have terms of disabilities correct too. These include terms such as impairment state of being weakened, disability, physical or mental impairment that limits activity, handicap, circumstance that makes progress difficult. Terms such as these help to identify the degree of a disability that a person is experiencing. Unity is important. Disability cultures presume a sense of common identity and interests that unite. Having a disability differs from other ethnic minorities in many ways, as it is also a culture that a person can enter into and exit. This means that someone who has had an accident can be temporarily disabled or disabled from a surgery. Some people with disabilities are often subject to separate but equal statuses. Many times, a person with a disability has support that is limited. This support is generally immediate family, neighbors who have disabilities as well, or a facility that they pay to be in. Individuals that make the above criteria often share many obstacles. However, these obstacles unite them through common characteristics and experiences. So, the essential elements of counseling individuals with disabilities. Avoid inspirational representations. These can cause disabled individuals to be held back by their disabilities. It's very patronizing, and it only continues to other disabled people, as if they don't deserve to have access to regular life milestones that other young people have. This is saying not to glorify the disability and let it just be what it is. That they are just another person that is going through life. Realize not all disabilities are the same. Anyone with a disability deserves to be treated like anyone else. Disabilities do not hinder individuals from living like everyone else. They deserve to have encouragement and opportunities to develop and express themselves as they progress through every stage of the lifespan. This means that someone who's deaf is not the same as someone who's blind, and they're not the same as someone who is missing a limb. and therefore they should not all be treated the same. Treat those with disabilities like everyone else. Although there are some that suffer from cognitive disabilities, all those affected should be talked to like a person. This means that individuals should be directly spoken to about their lives and medical interventions. As counselors, when we counsel someone with a disability, if they have someone with them, like a caretaker or a parent, we should talk to our client, not who is with them to help them. Disabilities are a culture and identity, not a problem. Disability culture extends across every other cultural boundary and can be found in every corner of the world and throughout history. This culture is one that, unlike others, is truly protected, socially marginalized group. This means that there are laws that protect this group of people. Strong patient intake. Just like the intake form is important for the clients of racial backgrounds, it is important that the same care is taken for those with disabilities. Unlearning offensive terms and realizing biases is a way to see someone with a disability as who they are, an image bearer. Psalms 139 states, "For you have formed me in my inward parts. You knitted me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made." Everybody was made in the likeness of God, and therefore we should treat them as such. So what are the agreements and disagreements of counseling individuals with disabilities? For the agreement side, counseling is beneficial to those with disabilities for several reasons. First, having a disability can cause a person stress and anxiety. Second, a person's physical disability or mental impairment could bring frequent stress due to a lack of social interaction, limited community involvement, environmental barriers, communication barriers, and numerous issues with bullying. That one is seen a lot of elementary, high school, junior high age children. This isolation can cause a disruption that can be helped by a counselor. By identifying strong skills, talking through emotions, and understanding behaviors, a counselor can help someone with disabilities overcome poor mental health. On the disagreement side, although counseling is beneficial, there are some barriers that may cause counseling to be difficult to achieve. First, some barriers include difficulty accessing the office that a counselor offices from. This would mean that they are not ADA compliant, therefore there's not ramps and things like that that would allow the client access into the building. Some counselors may have a lack of awareness or training a person with a specific disability. Third, counseling can be a hurdle if the counselor is not culturally competent and speaks infantile to the client. And lastly, intrusive actions may cause the client to feel uncomfortable. Individuals with disabilities often do not need bags picked up or doors opened. These actions can draw unwanted attention to a disability and make the client feel broken. Barriers like these are a reason that counseling may not be productive. In conclusion, individuals with disabilities are like any other cultural or ethnic group that a counselor would counsel. Although they sometimes have a physical or cognitive impairment, this should not limit them from having access to a counselor. A counselor should be sure that they do appropriate intake information as well as doing their best to understand their client's needs. And lastly, I would just like to share a personal story of my nephew Colton. Colton will be turning 16 shortly, but his whole life he has been at the center of many prayers. Colton is a great example of how counseling someone with a disability works and how it doesn't. Colton is autistic. At points in his life, he has met with counselors that have helped him with behavior, social, and severe mental issues. The great thing about meeting with a counselor is that on the behavior side and with the severe mental issues such as being suicidal, a counselor is able to help Colton understand what is going on and how to change to make progress. However, on the social side, a counselor has never been able to help Colton because he chooses not to talk to anyone about this part of his life. So while we know he struggles at school by being bullied, no one has been able to help him because he won't tell anyone what is going on. So we keep encouraging him and to tell his counselors what is going on, and we pray that he finds good friends and that one day he will tell a counselor what is going on so that they can help him.